City of Johannesburg workers have returned to work following the unprotected protest on Thursday over wage disputes. The protest was sparked by allegations that the City of Johannesburg officials prioritised their own interests during salary negotiations and neglected the needs of workers. However, the city says a media briefing will be convened at a later date to outline the details. Joining us to discuss this is Labour analyst Michael Bagraim. Good afternoon, Michael. Thank you very much for joining us on The Full View. This particular protest honestly caught everyone off guard and seriously disrupted citizens' movement on Thursday. But what we understand from SAMWU is that the city reneged on its agreement to pay workers according to benchmark standards. In this case, the city's grading has been moved from 8 to 10, and now workers wanted to be remunerated at that grade 10 level. So before we get your views on whether the workers' demands is a fair demand, firstly share with us what a move to a higher grade means for a city.
Well, it means that the workers they're doing more complicated work, they're doing more intense work, and they're working for a bigger city. And so they should be on grade 10 because that's what the city agreed. Now, what that really means is they must get paid more. They must be paid in 10 determination. And that's what the city agreed to. So the workers have got legitimate complaints.
Does the city also get more money if the grade increases from government?
Well, yes and no. The city has to justify getting the more money from government. They also need to explain what's happened to many, many millions that have gone missing and whether they've actually used money for the correct purposes. As all of us know, that the City of Johannesburg has been very poorly run for the last few years, and it's been a real issue. And effectively, the city doesn't have the money. Even if government gave the money to them, they've been spending it on other things. And that's the real problem. The workers are complaining because they're saying that the management, the senior management, are getting in terms of grade 10. That's fine, they're getting that. And then money's going missing. There's been all sorts of fraud and whatever. So the reality that we see right now is that the City of Johannesburg is run like a bucket shop. And the workers are quite legitimately angry. They might not be doing the legitimate thing by going on an unprotected strike, but I can understand the anger. I would be exactly in the same boat as workers.
So what exactly needs to happen here? How can they meet each other halfway? Because the difficulty is that if you don't pay workers, they protest, and that compromises service delivery. But you also don't want to be held ransom by employees as an employer, especially since you state, and we've all known, that the city doesn't have the money. So how do they find each other, or in what way can they find each other?
Well, the first thing is that the city itself, and there's a lot of politics involved. I don't fully understand the politics. I'm a lawyer, but the politics needs to be shifted aside. They need to get people that can actually run the city, because you and I probably both know now that for the last 2 years, the city's been badly run, and they've even had to send money back to the national government because they haven't spent it properly. So the reality right now is it needs a complete overhaul. We can't have the situation like it's been for the last 2 years.
Well, we've got a newly minted mayor, so Dada Morero has taken over, but of course he's the former finance MMC and was mayor for 25 days. Is that any comfort in any way?
Well, it might be, but I don't think so, because he's been sitting at the helm of the finance anyway. So this is not going to change anything. It's actually, the buck stopped at his desk when he was actually head of finance, and he's now just moved into the mayor's seat. That's playing like checkers on a chessboard. That doesn't work either. We actually need a sea change in Johannesburg, and the reality is that if we don't have that sea change, we're going to get another work stoppage, whether it's legal or not. And they haven't got, the workers are now saying they've done their homework, and they're saying there's 10 billion rand owing. And the city hasn't come up with a plan as to how to try and meet this 10 billion. Eventually, they haven't. The union, SAMWU, and I very seldom disagree. I very seldom agree with the union, but I can't disagree with them now. They're saying, don't pay us the 10 billion, you haven't got it, we understand. But give us a legitimate plan and some sort of map as to how we're going to get there. At least give us something. give us some hope, give us some ideas. Now, Johannesburg was reckless. The city of Johannesburg was reckless by moving everyone onto a grade 10 and then not paying them in accordance with grade 10. That's ridiculous. Imagine if you did it to a child, saying, I'm going to bring you a donut this evening when I come back from work, and then there's no donut.
And this was an agreement at the bargaining council, of course.
Yeah, it was a legitimate, signed-off, legal agreement. They knew that they didn't have the money, and they still did it. I don't know what they were hoping to gain politically. I don't know whether they were playing the fool. We saw the national government do this 4 years ago with COJ, if you recall, and then they didn't pay the 3-year agreement, and then they went to court and tried to find a way around not paying this. They're not going to win this one. So the city of Johannesburg is caught in a grip which is not so easy to get rid of unless they start being honest, and unless they sit down and say, here are books, come on, let's work on this together, and let's remove the leadership that the city's got at the moment, because that leadership is the leadership that's caused the problem. And the unions do not trust the current leadership at all, nor would I.
Well, we just await the city's media briefing, because they've stated that at a later date they will be briefing the media on what exactly is at play here. But thank you very much, Michael, for joining us this afternoon. That's Labour analyst Michael Bagraim speaking to us.